So many people try to talk me out of starting a ride company. It was crazy.
Oh, Susanna, don't cry for me. We had some good years, so let me be. The world goes on, I sang my song. I gave my own true love for you to see. Oh, Susanna, don't you cry. Hold the tears back and dry your eyes. What's this life without a sweet goodbye? And though it's over, take this letter for when the nights grow colder. Dear friends and gentle hearts, the time has come to part. The jig is up now, so lay me down. So when the world gets dark, know I loved you from the start. Listen to the words I sang to you.
The year is 2001. A young Elon Musk is looking to launch a project to grow plants on Martian soil, called Martian Oasis, in an attempt to regain public interest in space exploration and increase the budget of NASA.
So I thought, well, one way to get the public excited about space would be to do maybe a privately funded robotic space mission to Mars. And the idea was called Mars Oasis, where we'd put a small robotic lander on the surface of Mars with seeds and dehydrated nutrient gel that would hydrate upon landing, and you'd have plants growing in a Martian radiation and gravity condition.
In October of that same year, Musk and his team traveled to Moscow to try and buy the biggest refurbished intercontinental ballistic rocket from the Russians, hopefully for a moderate price. But instead, he got spat on and returned home empty-handed after failing to find anything affordable.
I went to Russia to look at buying a refurbished ICBM, which is a very trippy experience. It was very bizarre. And when I tell people that, they're like, what?
Musk quickly realized that the journey to the Red Planet would be prohibitively expensive, if not impossible, without a fundamental breakthrough in rocketry. And it was during his flight back to the US that Musk realized he could start a company that could build the affordable rockets he needed. Soon after, he began looking for staff for his new space company and was quickly joined by rocket engineer Tom Mueller, who would later become CTO of Propulsion. And so, Space Exploration Technologies Corporation, aka SpaceX, was born. Another key member who would soon join the company was Gwen Shotwell, a woman that, apart from becoming the chief operating officer of SpaceX, would also play a decisive role in the success of the company. In the following years, SpaceX quickly grew in size and became a company of 160 employees by 2005. They also began working on their first orbital class rocket, the Falcon 1, with a total development cost of approximately 90 to 100 million US dollars, all of which was privately funded. The first launch was scheduled for October 2005, although it was postponed several times due to problems with the first stage. The launch finally took place in March 2006 from SpaceX's launch site on the Marshall Islands. The Falcon 1 took to the skies for the first time ever at 10:30 p.m., carrying a payload for the United States Air Force Academy. However, immediately after liftoff, the vehicle began showing a noticeable rolling motion, rocking back and forth slightly, until at T plus 26 seconds, the worst fears became reality as the Falcon 1 rapidly pitched over. 15 seconds later, the flight ended after the rocket impacted onto a dead reef about 250 feet from the launch site. The payload managed to separate from the booster and land on the island, although the damage reports ended up being significant. Following the failed first launch, SpaceX implemented numerous changes to the rocket design and software to prevent such incidents from ever happening again. They decided to replace aluminum hardware with stainless steel, which is actually less expensive and only a little heavier. In March 2007, almost a complete year after the first test flight, SpaceX was ready to perform a new test flight after having suffered several delays because of problems with the second stage. This time around, Falcon 1 successfully left the launch pad shortly after 1 a.m. carrying a test payload aboard. The rocket performed well during the first stage burn, however, problems began to appear when, during stage separation, the first stage began rotating much faster than it should have, thereby making contact with the nozzle of the second stage. This appears to have destabilized the second stage, which at T plus 5 minutes and 1 second started to roll. Shortly thereafter, telemetry ended. The rocket continued to within 1 minute of its desired destination, and even though SpaceX deemed the flight a success, having flight proven over 95% of the rocket systems, generally it was still considered a failure. On August 3rd, 2008, over a year since the second test flight of Falcon 1, SpaceX attempted a third flight carrying a satellite for the US Air Force. Unfortunately, this one also didn't make it to orbit, despite the first stage having worked perfectly. As both stages separated, the residual propellant in the new Merlin 1C engine evaporated, giving undesired thrust to the first stage, which made it bump into the second stage and thus the mission to fail.
We are hearing from the Launch Control Center that there has been an anomaly on the vehicle.
Musk took the blame for the 3 failed launches, realizing that his role as a chief engineer was hurting the company more than helping.
2008, the rocket company is not going well. You've had 3 failures.
Great.
The car company is hemorrhaging money.
Yeah.
And the American economy has tanked in the worst recession since the Great Depression.
Right.
What was that year like for you?
And I'm getting divorced, by the way, to add to that. That was definitely the worst year of my life.
As a consequence, SpaceX nearly went bankrupt, and the future existence of the company depended entirely on a 4th test flight, which would have to be perfect.
We were running on fumes at that point. We had virtually no money.
So a 4th failure...
A 4th failure would have been absolutely game over.
Done.
Done.
SpaceX, bankrupt.
Yeah, it's bad enough to have 3 strikes. Having 4 strikes, it's really kaput.
During the following 6 weeks, the SpaceX team assembled the 4th Falcon 1 rocket using available parts they had left.
When you had that 3rd failure in a row, did you think, I need to pack this in?
Never.
Why not?
I don't ever give up. I mean, I'd have to be dead or completely incapacitated.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
We're at stage
We have
1.
liftoff indication. We have liftoff. SpaceX Falcon 1 launch vehicle. Falcon has cleared the tower. Plus 12.
Pitch game.
On the 28th of September 2008, the 4th Falcon 1 successfully cleared the launch pad toward what will be the first successful orbital launch of any privately funded and developed, fully liquid-propelled carrier rocket.
Second stage approaching Seco.
And that would be a nominal Seco.
Seco's in power!
I think it's important that humanity become a multi-planet species.
This gigantic success saved the company, since soon thereafter, NASA awarded SpaceX with the first commercial resupply services contract.
NASA called and told us that we'd won a $1.5 billion contract. And I couldn't even hold the phone. It's like, I just blurted out, I love you guys.
They saved you,
Yeah, they did.
financially and maybe even emotionally.
I'll tell you what, that was definitely helpful. A future where we're a spacefaring civilization is inspiring and exciting compared with one where we are forever confined to Earth until some eventual extinction event.
This is a tricky business.
Tricky. Yeah, yeah, I wish it wasn't so hard.
Following its first successful flight, Falcon 1 would take to the skies for the 5th time in July 2009, successfully completing its mission. However, this was the last we would ever see of Falcon 1. Following the 5th flight, the Falcon 1 program was ended and the vehicle was decommissioned from service. On the one hand, the rocket simply couldn't work as a business, and on the other hand, there was something far better looming on the horizon.